Hi everyone and welcome to episode 2 of DreamSpace ByteSize. My name is Niamh.
And I'm Michael. Last episode we learned all about origami and how important it is to break problems down to make it easier to solve.
Today we're going to be focusing on recognizing patterns in natural materials.
Before we get started though, we want to ask you a quick question. What is a pattern? Now is a good time to pause the episode and discuss this at home or in your class. Brilliant. So hopefully you had a good discussion about what exactly a pattern is. Finding patterns in problems are so important for computer scientists and coders because they're able to come up with solutions that could solve a whole lot of similar problems.
And today we are going to be practicing this skill by doing our waltz. So today we are learning to make a key. And
this isn't exactly a key that you'd use to unlock a door. This is a new type of key. A key that can identify a whole lot of different things just through a series of yes or no questions. Let's look at a quick example. We have a key here for recognizing pets. Niamh, you have a pet, don't you?
I do indeed.
Brilliant. So let's use our example key here to figure out what pet Niamh has. So Niamh, does your pet have 4 legs?
He does.
So we follow our branch down with the yes option, and now we move on to our next question. Does your pet bark, Niamh?
He does a lot.
Brilliant. So we follow our yes branch down, and as we can see, our key is telling us that Niamh's pet is a dog. And is our key correct, Niamh?
It is indeed. I have a golden retriever called Harley.
Lovely. Okay, now is a good time to pause and use this key at home or in school and ask your partner or your friend these questions and see if you can figure out what their pet is. Brilliant. So we hope you had a lot of fun using our key for recognizing pets. But what kind of key are we going to make today, Niamh?
We're going to be making a key about natural materials. So now would be a good time to pause and have a think about what I mean by natural materials. So natural materials are things like plants, rocks and water. They're things that occur naturally in the environment and aren't made by humans. So I suppose when I think of natural materials, I think of things like oranges. An orange is a great example because it's not made by a human, it actually grows on an orange tree.
That's a great example. And we can actually try out a quick activity just to see if we can figure out what exactly is a natural material and what isn't. Our first example, Niamh, is grass. So Niamh, do you think grass is a natural material?
Yeah, I think grass is definitely a natural material.
Bingo! Grass is a natural material. It isn't made by humans and it can be found out in the environment or outside naturally. We have 2 more, guys. We have plastic and we have stones. Now is a good time to pause and discuss in your class or at home, do you think plastic is a natural material or do you think stones are a natural material? Okay, brilliant. So hopefully you came up with some answers to whether or not plastic and stones are natural materials, but let's see if we can figure it out, Niamh. Plastic, natural material or not?
I don't think so.
You are correct. Plastic is made by humans and can't be found in nature naturally, so it is not a natural material. What about stones, Niamh?
I think stones are natural materials.
Brilliant. You are correct. Stones are not made by humans and you can find them outside naturally, so they are natural materials. I think now we know exactly what a natural material is and it's time for us to throw on our jackets, go outside and find some for ourselves.
Let's go.
We're ready to go, Niamh.
Okay, so now we're back from collecting our natural materials. And we actually collected loads of natural materials, didn't we, Michael?
Yeah, they look great.
They really do. So I suppose now we're going to identify the different patterns that we can see within our natural materials.
So what kind of patterns are you seeing in the ones we collected just today, Niamh?
Well, I think the first pattern that strikes me is with some bright colours.
Very good.
Some greens and yellows. So bright colours.
Right. So that's going to be one of our our categories.
And then I suppose the next pattern I notice is we've some dark colours, so some greys and blacks.
Yeah, very good. So another one of our categories is going to be dark. So what kind of materials are we going to put under the bright category?
Well, I definitely put the grass under the bright, because it has a nice bright green colour.
Grass.
And also maybe the flower.
Yeah, good
It's
one.
a nice yellow colour.
Flower. And what about in our dark category?
Under our dark category, I definitely put the soil.
Yeah, very good.
And I'd also put the grey rocks or stones under the dark category.
Brilliant. Yeah, so stones. Any other kind of patterns we were seeing there?
Well, I suppose actually the rocks are quite hard, so hard could be another category.
Very good.
And I suppose it's really only the rocks that fall into that category. And then the other category I would see is soft. So our grass, our flower and our soil are all soft.
Yeah. So soft. So you were saying that the stones go into the hard category, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then maybe the soil in the soft one?
The soil, and we could put the grass and also the flower.
Oh, yeah.
Could have all three, I think.
So we're going to put a little bit of colour in there. And flowers. Brilliant. So we've kind of identified all the different patterns in the natural materials that we just collected. I think this kind of gives us enough to get going on our keys, doesn't it, Niamh?
Yeah, let's get started, and we can work together on building a key for the natural materials that we've collected.
Brilliant. And at the end then, guys, we're actually going to pop our key up onto the board just so we can kind of review it, yeah?
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, so Michael, are you finished your key over there?
Yeah, I think I'm all finished. I spruced up with a little bit of colour. It's looking good, and it's easy to use, I think. How about you, Niamh? How did you get on?
Yeah, I'm finished too. I think I made it quite simple. My 3 different questions. So is the material a bright colour, yes or no? And then is it hard, and is it only green?
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Yeah, so just because it might be a little bit hard to see on our sheets, do you think we should put up our keys up onto the board here? Maybe we can do yours?
Yeah,
Great
so
stuff.
I can call it out to you.
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm just going to clear this off. So brilliant. Niamh, you have your key finished, don't you?
Yeah, I do indeed.
Great stuff. So what did you name it?
So I went with a very simple name, Natural Materials Key.
Brilliant. Okay. Natural materials key.
Yep.
Brilliant. So what was the first question you asked on your key?
So the first question I have is the material a bright colour? So I suppose,
because of our bright patterns.
Exactly. So I suppose just weighing up the different materials and seeing, well, is it a bright colour or is it a dark colour?
A bright colour. Brilliant. Okay, so that's our first question boxed off.
Exactly. And then I suppose it branched out into yes and no.
So yes, and then going to go for red for no. And what question did you say after they said yes, the material is bright? What did you put after yes?
Well, then I put, is it only green? So I suppose I was kind of further classifying it into colours. So was it only green or had it other colours in it?
Oh, is this to compare between the grass and the flowers?
Exactly.
Brilliant. So is it only green? And then we said yes.
Yes and no again as my two subcategories.
And then yes is...
my grass, because it is only green.
Brilliant.
Which we can see here. And then no would be my flower.
Flower.
Which is yellow. And I only had one flower.
Great.
Whereas on your table over there, we can see that you had a few more flowers than I did.
Brilliant. Okay, so when we followed down the no branch, if we were to say no, the natural material isn't a bright colour, what was our question after that?
Well, I used the question, is it hard? Because I further classified the materials as hard and soft materials.
Brilliant.
So is it hard?
Oh, this is telling the difference between the stones and the soil.
Exactly.
So yes, stones?
Yes, and yes, of course. Yes, if it's hard, it's a stone. And otherwise, no. And if it's not hard and it's soft, the only other material we have left is our soil.
Brilliant. So, soil. Okay, so that's our... Just going to give a little underline heading to our title. So now we have our key finished. I think it's time to test it out. So Niamh, do you want to pick out one of the natural materials there, and we can maybe follow along the path of our key?
Yeah. So do you want me to tell you which one I picked?
No, keep it to yourself this time.
Okay, I've one picked.
Brilliant. So Niamh, is the material a bright colour?
No.
Okay, so I followed down my path. So is it hard?
Yes.
So were you thinking of your stone?
I was indeed.
Brilliant. Okay, so we found patterns in our natural materials. We then used those patterns to make our key, and we even tested our key to make sure it worked. And didn't it work, Niamh?
It really did.
Now it's time to review our episode and make sure we covered all the skills we wanted to. So first of all, what skills were we working on this episode, Niamh?
Well, today we were working on our pattern recognition skills, so recognizing patterns in our natural materials.
We also set ourselves a WALT at the beginning of this episode, and if you can't remember what it was just we are learning to make a key. And I'm pretty sure we did that, didn't we?
We did indeed.
Our most important one each episode as well is, did we have fun, Niamh?
Well, I had great fun, especially collecting our materials.
That was a lot of fun, okay?
So, now we challenge you to create your very own key by going outdoors and collecting some natural materials. And obviously you're going to need to recognize some patterns in your natural materials to do so. So you can do this by getting more information at aka.ms/DSByteSize.
Brilliant. Yeah, so everything you need is there, some templates for your keys and even some activities to practice recognizing patterns in natural materials. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Tune in next week as we're actually going to be focusing on the important details and making pixel characters of ourselves. See you then, guys. Bye.
Slán libh go léir.